So,
Good morning, everyone, and happy Saturday. How's everyone doing out there?
doing
Ew,
great.
Morning.
yay!
All right. With that, I am now going to go into a mute all on the mic. So, guys, just bear in mind that as you do any of your docket items, that you do need to unmute yourself. So, for those that are new to this program, this is a once a week, Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we have kind of this live interaction Zoom. For those that aren't able to attend live, these episodes do get uploaded onto the YouTube channel called Voices of HealthPointe. And the way we kind of roll is we tend to have some docket items. And I want to tick through what those docket items are. And not that we always get to them all, but they're kind of teed up for us to go through, because what we really enjoy on here is kind of as a result of the docket items, sometimes a result of some other tangents or rabbit trails that we get on. We just have a robust, just back and forth discussion. And this is, at the end of the day, about a bunch of like-minded individuals, people that are focused around the HealthPointe methodology, the HealthPointe program, whether it's as coaches or clients or prospective clients, people kind of checking things out. And it's just fun, isn't it, to have a bunch of like-minded individuals kind of come together like this. So that's what it's mostly about. But with that, let me kind of tick through some of the docket items, and then I'll go through a bit of a disclaimer, and then I'll tee up my first, I'll do the first docket item. So my docket item is on the season that we're in. It's the holiday season, right? But for some people, it's also the stress season. So I'm going to unpack a little bit on the biology of stress. And then we've got Laurel that is actually going to be teeing up a topic of what your body actually needs, and kind of a reoccurring theme that we were joking in the preamble about how, once again, all roads lead back to HealthPointe. And so we're looking forward to Laurel on that. We've got Hank, particularly for those of us that are north of Atlanta, kind of in the more cloudy zone of the continent versus the southern area where Hank and Carol are at, and that is the topic of vitamin D and how important that is. And nobody better than Hank to unpack that. And then Carol has a docket item on planting the seeds and paying it forward. She emphasized if we have time during this 1 hour window, which we hope we do. And likewise with David, who always gives, just fun stories and real examples. And he has a couple of examples, a couple of scenarios on the topic of cost versus value. So hopefully we can integrate all of these docket items into things. But let me just kind of get going so that we can really get as much in as we can. First, I want to emphasize that the content shared here is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended as medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health routine. Our discussions draw on wellness concepts similar to those found in the HealthPointe methodology, which we hold in high regard. The ideas presented are independently developed and do not represent or speak on behalf of the HealthPointe brand. With that, let's roll into the topic of, when the holidays feel a little bit louder, stress, biology, and awareness. So as we move into the holiday season, many people notice changes, not just in their schedules, but in their stress levels. What's interesting is that stress doesn't always show up as feeling overwhelmed or anxious. Sometimes it appears as irritability, fatigue, restless sleep, difficulty focusing, or a general sense of just kind of feeling off. Anybody kind of relate to that? Um, the holidays are often framed as joyful and meaningful, and for many, they truly are. At the same time, this season can quietly increase the load placed on the body and extend the duration of that load over several weeks. More commitments, more decisions, disrupted routines, and higher expectations can all contribute to a subtle but real rise in stress. That idea of load and duration will show up again and again throughout this reflection that we have. I also want to make a note that for those that are on the HealthPointe app, which I assume most of this audience is, you may want to revisit orange dot number 18. We refer to them as orange dots because they're numbered in an orange dot. So orange dot number 18, titled Stress Management by Ruth Grief. For those that have listened to that, and I'm sure many in this audience have listened to that, you know what a gem that audio is. Again, that's orange dot number 18 in your HealthPointe app under the daily messages. So before getting into hormones or immune signaling, there's a very practical layer of stress worth noticing. During the holidays, the number of daily decisions tends to increase. What to attend, what to prepare, who to prioritize, how to navigate expectations. As decision-making increases, structure often decreases. Meals become less predictable, sleep schedules can shift, movement and exercise patterns can change. When this happens, many people notice they feel more scattered or more reactive. This isn't a lack of discipline. It's often the nervous system responding to changing rhythms. The body tends to do best with predictability, and when predictability softens, stress signals can become louder. One framework that helps explain this is psychoneuroimmunology, or PNI. PNI looks at how the mind, the nervous system, and the immune system communicate with one another. It suggests that stress is not just emotional. Thoughts, perceptions, and emotional load influence hormonal signaling. Hormones influence immune behavior. Immune activity feeds back into mood, energy, and resilience. It's a continuous conversation within the body, and stress is one of the strongest signals moving through that system. From a biological perspective, stress begins as a hormonal response. When the brain perceives pressure, whether from time constraints, family dynamics, financial considerations, or disrupted routines, it activates the adrenal system. Hans Selye, often considered the father of stress research, described this response in 3 phases. There's the alarm phase, which is the initial activation, the adaptive or resistance phase, which is where the body is attempting to cope and kind of regain that balance, and then the exhaustion phase, if and when the stress continues without adequate recovery. So you've got alarm, adaptive, and exhaustion. What's helpful to remember is that the body doesn't differentiate between, quote, good stress and, quote, bad stress. It primarily responds to how much load and how long that load lasts. For many people, the holiday season may gently increase both. Up to this point, we've been talking about stress over weeks or months. But if we're trying to understand how stress affects the immune system and overall biology, it can also be helpful to look at stress over much longer periods of time. In past Voices of HealthPointe conversations, I've referenced some of my work in integrative oncology. One of the tools often discussed in that setting is the ACE score, ACE score, which stands for Adverse Childhood Experience. The relevance here is straightforward. If stress over November and December or a couple of months can influence the body, what happens if and when stress is experienced with significant load over many years? So let's unpack this. When ACE score, let's take a look at ACE scores that offer this important context. The ACE questionnaire, for those of you that are familiar with it, looks at 10 categories of early life adversity grouped into 3 areas. The first area is abuse. There's 3 questions in there. There's emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse. Then neglect is the other category. 2 questions there. Emotional neglect, physical neglect. And then lastly is household dysfunction. Substance abuse in the household, mental illness in the household, domestic violence, parental separation, incarceration of a household member. So those are those 10 questions in the ACE questionnaire. Each yes counts as 1 point. A score of 0 to 1 generally reflects low exposure. 2 to 3 suggests moderate exposure. 4 or more is associated with long-term changes in stress regulation, immune signaling, and nervous system sensitivity. In many integrative oncology classrooms, when individuals recovering from cancer reflected on their ACE scores, the majority shared very high numbers, often nines and tens, and I've mentioned this before. Hearing those reflections helped clarify how early, prolonged stress can shape physiology well into adulthood. This isn't about blame or prediction. It's about understanding patterns. Awareness helps explain why some bodies remain more stressed, more alert, more reactive, or slower to recover under stress. Once again, it comes back to load and duration. With that broader understanding, it becomes easier to see stress along a spectrum. Some stressors, like adverse childhood experiences, reflect a level of load and duration that often calls for deeper work, support, and healing over time. Awareness of those patterns can be an important first step, but they are not something a few lifestyle adjustments are meant to resolve. At the same time, much of what we experience during the holiday seasons tend to be different in nature. It is often a predictable increase in stress that lasts for weeks or a couple of months rather than years. And while it still matters biologically, it can often be met with a different set of supports. This is where a simple idea such as using margin as medicine, and that's something that Ruth Grief really unpacked, becomes especially important. Simply creating white space, simplifying commitments, and allowing for a quieter pace can meaningfully reduce the overall load the body is carrying during this season. From there, again, some very practical anchors can help reinforce the stability. Use protein first, to support steady energy. Hydration to support stress signaling and resilience. Walking to help calm the nervous system. And definitely protecting the sleep to support recovery and hormonal reset. Sleep is very important. These aren't prescriptions, they're supports. Ways the body navigates a temporary increase in load with greater ease. The HealthPointe Foundation remains consistent. We use whole food, nutrient-dense meals, steady rhythms, hydration, awareness, and a daily micronutrient base that helps fill those nutritional gaps, often including like a XX multivitamin, of course, the omega-3s, and also gut support. But during these predictable seasons of increased stress, and it's not just the holidays, it could be exams, maybe a major work project, maybe weddings, or something of that nature, some people also would appreciate additional support. For some, those preparations may include additionally the Neutralite Immunity Echinacea. For those that are familiar with that product, we love it. Also the Excess Energy and Focus. These are adaptogenic herbs that support clarity and stress adaptation. Now, these supports don't replace the foundation, but they complement it when the load temporarily increases. So it's good to kind of have those on hand. The holiday season can be a time when load increases and duration extends. When you understand the biology behind this through psychoneuroimmunology, through the 3 phases of stress, which again are alarm, adaptation, and exhaustion, it becomes easier to move through this season and others with steadiness rather than strain. So if you notice more fatigue, more reactivity, or more mental scatter, begin with awareness. Be kind to yourself. These signals don't mean you're failing. They may simply mean your body is asking for rhythm, protection, and support. And now you have the language and some options to respond thoughtfully. Okay, guys, that's my piece. And again, everybody is muted, I believe. So if you have any comments or anything, go ahead and unmute and comment. Otherwise, we will move into our next docket item, which I believe will be you, Laurel.
Well, I'll just say that what you just read was, I took a million notes and I went, yeah, I'm doing that. Yep, I'm doing that. Yeah. And then at the end there, you said about, the different things, all the stuff we're already doing HealthPointe. And then you said about and rhodiola. And it just occurred to me as you said that, I've been really scattered which is typical anyway, but all of a sudden I went, oh, It's the rhodiola I'm missing because I ran out. It's just downstairs on the shelves. But oh, I've been busy, and I didn't go down and get my new pack. And so for about 3 days, I haven't been taking it. And I go, oh,
Yep.
well, there's the solution. Okay. So that'll certainly help. I wasn't helping myself by forgetting it. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, sometimes these are just some good reminders. As we come into this, again, this is just a predictable season. Stressors aren't always predictable. Some stressors are, kind of surprise us. Um, and sometimes those are short duration, but also sometimes that they're a long duration. But for these seasons that are predictable, like the holiday seasons, having those products on hand, like you do, Laurel, can be very, very helpful as you just kind of add that extra layer of protection on top of the foundation that certainly you already have, for sure.
That article just is such a great reminder to everybody. I found myself in a number of those situations and things that you spoke of, but hearing the article brings clarity. It kind of brings it from the inner and comes out to the outer where you can take a look at it. And it's kind of like the Ben Franklin quote: put all the things that stress you down and all the things that you can do about it on the other side of the paper, two sides of the paper. But that article just really brings it out so much. Sorry, we just got a flood of cars here all of a sudden. One of the things, Sharon doesn't even know this yet. I think she's on. But I'm going to ask Sharon if she can do just a little blurb on gut health for Monday night, because I think this is an area that when your gut is off, so much of your whole body is off. And nobody does a better job on gut health than Sharon and my husband, Hank. But I'm going to ask Sharon if she'll do a particular a blurb on that and some of the products that we have, because I think when your gut is working properly,
Uh,
especially
uh,
with all the different
un,
holiday foods
un,
that you don't.
unmute.
Sharon,
Oops,
are you
we got
there?
Sharon. I
Yeah,
think you just said unmute.
No. Oh,
Sharon
sorry.
just passed out.
Okay. 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 Yes.
N- uh, 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 okay, wait. I think I think I'm unmuted, and I didn't
Yes,
realize
you
I
are.
was, because yes, Carol, I'm happy to. No problem at all.
You are so sweet, and nothing like putting you on the hot docket. But I thought of it this morning, and I thought nobody does it better than Sharon. And honestly, don't we all feel that if our body is operating and our digestive system is operating regularly, you can feel that your brain is happy because your body's happy, and all the things that you might have done that were off from your normal routine, those products can help. So thank you, Sharon. So I'm giving you guys all a heads up. Promote this because nobody does it better than Sharon.
Well,
Other
you're
thing,
so sweet. I was in alarm at first, but now I'm adapting.
well, nothing to add a little stress to your program. There's speaking of Eric, but Eric, if we could get a copy of that art, well, it's your article. You write that stuff. Boy, if we could get a copy of that as a
Oh, that's
reminder.
great. Great.
Oh, because it's so
Yeah.
straightforward. And I'll tell you one thing to even tack on with regards to stress is travel. I can tell you that
Mm,
those things I feel whenever we travel, because not when we get on the travel, it's the beforehand preparation, upset and schedule, additional things to do. So it's not just the holidays, it's just we have quite a bit of travel in our schedule, and I can tell you that I found myself in a lot of that stuff in your article, Eric. So it's really spot on. Thank you so much for that. And Sharon, thank you for committing to Monday.
You are welcome. And Eric, I am in a, a thing where I can't mute myself again. If you will mute me again, that would be great.
sure. Let me
Oh,
see if this does the trick. I almost hate to do it, Sharon,
oh
because you're.
There's
But
no
I'll
yeah.
problem with Sharon.
I'll, I'll
I'm
I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and do it just so that you don't inadvertently. But I just love that you were able to pop on here. Here, Carol was trying to, sneakily throw you under the bus, putting you on the Monday night docket item without, hoping
Oh.
because you're in a more Western time zone. I mean, it's early for those of us in the East Coast, and you're over there. Nice try, Carol, but
I almost texted her and I thought, no, it's really early.
Sharon is too sharp. She even played off the article, saying she was in alarm moment for a moment there, and then quickly
Yeah.
adapted. So I love that. I love that. So Sharon, I will go ahead and mute you, but thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for chiming in. Can't wait for your segment on Monday night. So I'll go ahead and mute you now and move on. Okay. All right. Gosh, I feel so horrible muting Sharon Webb. Oh my gosh. That is like gives me the willies. Again, thank you, Sharon. And thank you, Carol. Yes, I mean, travel. I mean, again, something that can happen 12 months out of the year for a lot of people. I know for yourself, Carol and Hank, but like you said, once you're there, your destination or whatever, it's another thing. But that thinking about or that looming travel, all the decisions, again, that's what this is pointing out. When that load, which is those decisions and kind of the unsteadiness of it, things are disrupted and a bit of a duration, if it's frequent travel, but not like every day. If it's every day, you kind of build in that routine and it's just routine and it's not stressor, but that occasional but frequent travel can definitely, we've all felt that, right? That increase in the stress. So great point. Certainly a big thing during this time of the year, this season for sure. So, all right. Well, Laurel, I think you're up. Love to hear your docket item if you're ready. There you
Yeah,
are.
I'm
Look at
ready.
that.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah, I got my back. That's a real background too. Looks like one of
Yeah.
those fake ones you put up there. But yeah, well now Carol just added more to my, remember I said I was, oh, no wonder I'm stressed. Well, it just occurred to me, not only do we have these holidays in here, but as soon as the new year's over, as soon as we get into 2026, we're supposed to check into the place we're renting in Florida on the 5th. So that's all. And we've never done this before. We're leaving and going down there for 4 months. And I'm just overwhelmed with how do you do this, And so I'm going to have to order some more rodeo. I think I'm going to need a lot of it. So anyway, yeah, this article, a lot of times I'm just picking up stuff and reading it or something I see online that catches my eye about health or whatever. And I don't have the doctor's and the nutritional person's name that wrote this. I can find it if we need it. But I always read them kind of a little bit like, well, let's just see. Let's see if this is garbage or if this is good, And so this article, as I read it, I just went, uh-huh, uh-huh. So let me just, I shortened some of it, but I'll just read kind of what they said. And their title was Forget Fad Diets. This is what your body actually needs. And my thing was, well, yeah, it's HealthPointe. So food is essential not just to nourish our bodies, but to create communities, culture, celebration, meaning, and its medicine. It shapes our health, our energy, and our connections. But with so much nutritional noise out there, I thought that was a good term, such as fasting, keto, macros, it can feel impossible to know how to truly nourish yourself. We have dedicated our lives to teaching people what it takes to live a healthy life, and we've learned some valuable lessons about how to fuel for longevity. So let's reframe this diet problem. Instead of restriction, let's focus on savoring and choosing foods that energize your body, stabilize your hormones, and support your goals. This is what your body actually needs. And it's got four different points. Number one, prioritize protein. You need more than you think, which we've talked about before on this this walk and talk. Forget the outdated myth that women don't need as much protein as men. In midlife beyond, adequate protein is critical for maintaining muscle mass, supporting metabolism, and powering recovery. And then they go through some things about, how to figure out whatever you need. But this says many women, especially, unintentionally underfuel, especially if they're active, and it can lead to plateaus in training, fatigue, or difficulty managing weight. 2, fuel before you move. If you work out in the morning, don't forget to eat. Early in the day, your cortisol is naturally elevated. Eating, especially protein, a mix of protein, carbs, and fat, signals your body that it's safe to use energy to build muscle and recover rather than staying in a stress state. 3, smart supplements for midlife energy and brain health. Food comes first, but targeted supplementation can help fill in the gaps. I mean, it's HealthPointe. Some nutrients worth exploring. And then they mentioned creatine, which supports muscle strength and brain health, especially important post-injury and for cognitive aging. And then the other category they wrote was magnesium, omega-3s, vitamin D, vitamin K, and C, crucial for mood, bone health, inflammation, and cellular function. And then the fourth area was build a longevity plate. Whether you're meal prepping, lunching on the go, or enjoying dinner with friends, there are 5 principles that can help you eat with power and presence. 1, protein first. And I won't go all the details, but 2, nutrient-dense choices. Eat mostly whole foods to get a spectrum of vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients. 3, hydration matters. You can even consider adding electrolytes to your water, especially in the morning before coffee to optimize energy. Fiber up. It's great for digestion, glucose stability, and long-term metabolic health. And then share your meals. Longevity is about building community. Lo and behold, as much as it is about building health. And then they also mentioned at the end, there's 3 emerging tools that help to personalize your nutrition. And it said you need to find out what works for your body, which is what we say in HealthPointe. And here's 2 science-backed strategies worth exploring. Actually, there's 3, but one was continuous glucose monitoring. And I thought about the Keto Mojo thing that we talked about, measuring your glucose and your ketones. Prebiotics and probiotics. Well, we have that in our program, in our Neutralite uh, library. Support your gut health with the right balance of inputs such as prebiotics and probiotics. And together they help a thriving internal ecosystem linked to mood, immunity, and longevity. And finally, they suggest get your blood work done. A full nutritional panel can highlight your deficiencies, optimize your supplement stack, and help you tailor your eating for the decades ahead. So, and I read that and I go, well, that's exactly what we do. So anyway, I thought it's nice.
Yeah.
I mean, not that we need validation, but it's nice to see that, people out there go, yep, that's what we're supposed to be doing. So anyway, that's it.
I love that. I love that right out of the gate, that phrase. I think that resonated with you too, is the nutritional noise. That's that
Yeah.
that there's I guess on the one hand, that's good. At least, there is noise out there on nutrition. I guess the opposite of that would be nobody talking about nutrition. So we wouldn't want that, but it does, I think, get confusing. And I think that's one of the things that is so attractive about the HealthPointe program. First of all, it's got such pedigree, 3 decades coming out of a science base. It's been proven. It's something that we don't often talk about on these Saturday walk and talks. It kind of is reflective in some of the other support Zooms throughout the week. Is the multicultural aspects of this, where you're working the HealthPointe program in, dozens of countries around the world. And, these cultural norms in terms of how to eat and the ability for for the science to be able to stay steady through these different palates and cultural and norms in terms of eating. So yeah, I think to your point, I think HealthPointe really kicks right through that nutritional noise and provides a stable and relatively simple, particularly once people kind of get through those handful of days or maybe their first cycle, and get into that rhythm. I know you guys hear it all the time too. I hear people just saying this is so simple. One of the things I meant to ask you or comment on this last time. For those that are comfortable, anybody that does a docket item, maybe share your numbers, your own journey, because as you know, people are listening. Not everybody knows. And Laurel, to the degree that you're comfortable, share what your experience, your numbers have been on HealthPointe.
Well, you know, off the top of my head, I don't know like some of the inches and stuff. But I do know I started January 12th last January, and this is I think my 8th cycle, and it just seems a pretty natural thing. But I've lost, gosh, I'm kind of losing track a little bit. I'm pushing close to 70 pounds that I lost.
Wow.
And but now I'm doing more workouts. You know, I've been going to the gym. You know, I got my physical therapy that I was doing, and I said, "Look, can I just transition into working out a little bit here under your supervision?" She goes, "Yeah, get me a new prescription." So my doctor said, "Yeah, fine." So I've been going, Al and I, 3 days a week right up until we leave for Florida because we got places down there. Then we can get outside and walk and do that stuff. But so the energy level, I said, Carol, for the first time, I've had so many problems through this that were totally unrelated to Health Point, but the Health Point has been the mainstay. I stick with that. That's the one thing I could control. And just in the past, you know, probably right about before Thanksgiving, I noted how much energy I had. You know, like, and somebody mentioned the other day about being up so early and stuff. And I'm like, you know, I used to take naps during the day. I'm not taking I mean, I certainly could use one, but we got a fireplace going and everything. It's a great place to take a nap. But I'm like, no, I'm not tired. I got to go do this. I got to do that. So, um, yeah. And I think, I don't know, I think I've lost about 30 some inches. I can't even remember. I have to remeasure. I'm due for remeasure here as I come to the end. This is my last add more food week or metabolic adjustment. So then I'll do some measurements there. But it's it's just kind of gradually come off, and a lot of plateaus. And Carol's wonderful; she helps me through a lot of that stuff. So anyway, so that's
Mm.
my experience.
That's amazing. I mean, close to 70 pounds and a lot of other, as you say, that we call those non-scale victories. I mean, increased
Right.
energy. And for those that, you know a little bit about your journey, some things that you've shared, you just kind of make a reference, an offhanded comment about little ups and downs. We're talking major injuries, a shin about ripped off, or, skin
Yeah.
and meat hanging from your shin when a dog bit you in Texas. And I mean, you've been through it all. And I guess the point of that is HealthPointe is meant, particularly with the support of the coach, and you reference Carol, doesn't get any better than Carol as far as a coach, to be able to maintain that continuity, that consistency through. I mean, let's hope it's not dog bites and ripped off shins from a dumpster or whatever it was
All
that did
right.
that. But life is life. Try to go
Yeah.
through 12 months without, and it's not always negative. It can be a positive thing
Yeah.
that kind of disrupts, your life, and to have that consistency and that constancy of the pattern of the 6 week cycle, and that check in with the coach. What I'm hearing from you is that was the constancy, and you're now 70 pounds down, more energy. I'm sure all kinds of labs are better and so forth. But
Yeah.
yeah, thanks for sharing that. It never gets old, hearing what people have experienced. And so that's awesome.
I just wanted
Thank
to
you.
chime in real quick about accountability, because I think this is something that, especially if a person has got more than 10, 15 pounds, so they're going to be in for a number of cycles, the accountability is so key. And I have to really say that Laurel, I don't think there's ever once I've had to remind her. She's just flat out been accountable. And that is so helpful to a coach. So those of you that are coaching, don't accept or downplay a person's willingness to be accountable, because that is something that's probably one of the biggest things that a coach can help with, but also a person can really journalize with this you're journalizing when you're coaching and you're filling out those forms and stuff. You're literally journalizing, and that can be so helpful to somebody, especially if they get in the dumpers. They can go back over the last number of weeks and say, oh well, look at here, I lost 3 pounds here in one day. Well, okay, so my body's going to adjust, but I'm doing good. And it really helps not only the coach, but it also helps the person on the program. And Laurel's been really, really stellar in that area. Well, in many areas, but in particular that area.
Excellent. Yeah. So great.
If you're organized with your journals, as Chris was for a long period of time, one of the benefits is that when you have a client that hits a bump, you can actually show them your journals where you had the same bump and say, trust me, I can help you get through that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point. Yeah. Yep. Awesome. Great stuff. Charlie, I think you were on, or maybe you were accidentally on. I don't know if you were. I saw your avatar kind of lighting up there. I'll give you a minute here if you were trying to comment, or if you weren't, we'll just move on. But I just want to make sure if you were trying to comment that you get the space.
No, I was, but he just jumped on it, so I was just going to make the same point.
All right. On the point on you being able to relate to clients through your own journal and
yeah,
being
keeping your journal and keeping it so you can show it to people. There's nothing like showing what you're doing, and that's just so believable.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And just, on the broader context, just the concept, not only keeping the journal, but also the fact that you've done the program, right? You're not, David, Charlie is, and what is behind that message is that this isn't a coach that is pontificating from an ivory tower, thou shalt eat your nutritious food. This is someone that has done, one or maybe numerous cycles themselves. And maybe that's how they evolved into wanting to coach it, because people are asking them, oh my gosh, you look so healthy. How have you done that? And they enjoy helping others and so forth. But yeah, let's not forget that major point here, which is, we're not pontificating. We're certainly not, prescribing or diagnosing, but we are very often exempling. And also we can relate, to those, we talk about those ups and downs, in, kind of a quick context here, but for those that have done the program and had their own life experiences, they're in their third week and all of a sudden, bam, something happens in their life and it kind of derails them. They kind of hang on to their coach and do that consistency of the check-ins. I agree, Carol, that constancy of the check-in. In fact, I just had somebody yesterday that made a comment. It wasn't, I didn't jump on it because I knew the context of how she was sharing it, but she was saying, well, she's in her first cycle, right? And she said, well, now that I know this information, why would I kind of need why would I need to kind of continue in this rhythm? I know it. And of course, we've all heard the phrase that if it was just knowledge that was required, we would all have abs that look like six packs and we would all be billionaires, because there's plenty of knowledge on how to build a six-pack ab and plenty of knowledge and resources on how to become a billionaire. So obviously it takes more than just the knowledge. And so I walked her through that. But one of the key things is what you're talking about, Carol, and that is that relationship with that coach, that accountability that drives behavior. If we know we're going to wake up, as we say, the WWW, the wake, the we, the way, you wake up, you use the restroom, empty your bladder, you step on the scale, you check in, that drives choices, the day prior. And so that accountability is key.
I say, and this would actually tack on to, if I do have time for my short little blurb, but I think the best coach is one that's going through the program right now. I think that even a person that has been through the program successfully and is in long-term maintenance, they can't be as relatable as the person that is in their third cycle or their second cycle. And this is why I would encourage those of you that are in that situation where you're early in the game or you have somebody early in the game, asking them, who do you know that could benefit from this program? You're doing so well. I can coach them and you can encourage them, and we can be a little community that can help them. This takes the pressure off of a relatively new person about coaching. You're already interjecting that they can coach, they don't have to be an expert. And they certainly don't have to be an expert with all the knowledge that you got, Eric. I mean, you are just such a great go-to guy. It's just amazing the material that you present to us. But the newbie that is just going through it and hitting those peaks and valleys, and maybe they just plateaued and they're plateau now and things are moving on or whatever they are, they can be sharing that with their friend, and the coach can be coaching them through, but they can be encouraging them, saying, hey, let me tell you, that's true. I just went through that 2 weeks ago. Man, I thought I'd never budge off of that, blah, blah, blah. It's relatable, and relatability and relationships, I think, are two of the key things in the HealthPointe program. So back to you, Eric.
Yeah, huge. That's worthy of an entire episode, I think. And maybe we'll do that, maybe on a future episode, because I know, particularly through some of the things that the Australian contingent, leadership in the HealthPointe program is really advocating this, this, primary coach and then encouragers. And I love how you're unpacking that, and just, that very natural transition where somebody may feel like they could be a great encourager, maybe not the main coach, but there's that beautiful role, and that client gets that, more than one person that is kind of, communicating with them as they go through things. So love that.
Okay, go ahead.
Love that.
Yeah, this is Tom. I just wanted to let you know that even though I backslid a couple pounds here and there with some off journal action, I wanted to let you know that I've been losing a pound every single day since, and I'm now at 21 pounds down, and I'm losing my shapely Santa figure to going now from a bowl full of Jello to a stomach full of Jello.
I love that. So this is I'm seeing Tom, and this is on Debbie's channel. So Tom,
oh yeah, it's my spouse. He's beating
Oh,
the pants
Tom.
off of me.
Woohoo!
oh my gosh, Tom, you're stealing the show here. Love it. Love it. We've heard reference to you. Thank you for chiming in on that. Congratulations, 21 pounds down. So we're going to be missing that Santa figure. Boo-hoo. Sounds like you're looking like a svelte and healthy Santa in the seasons ahead. Congratulations on what sounds like you're kind of finding your stride, and the mechanisms are kicking in, and you're certainly tracking wonderfully. Thanks for unmuting and giving a shout out. Love it. Love it. Oh, Tom and Debbie, you guys are too fun. A lot of fun. Well, I can't wait to get to Hank. Hank, in the preamble, you commented that, there's always a season for the topic that you're going to cover, but maybe particularly this season for those that don't live in the glorious continuous sunshine that you guys do. If you're there, Hank, go ahead and roll with your docket item.
Good morning. I'm getting excited just listening to everybody. Congratulations, Tom. Congratulations, man. And Laurel, you're looking great. Except when I looked at the background of your picture, I saw all that snow. I got cold just watching it. So, anyway, looking forward to having you in Florida in a few days. So for 4 months, it's going to be fun. What I'm going to quote from here is one of my favorite newsletters I subscribe to, Dr. McCosey, an MD, PhD. Okay, that's pretty well up there. The guy's been around one of the top guys that I subscribe to, and I love it. And here's what he says. As I've often mentioned, in latitudes north of Atlanta or Los Angeles, the sun's rays aren't high enough in the sky from October to March, nor strong enough to allow your body to naturally produce vitamin D. That's why supplements are especially crucial in the winter months. Even though the recommended RDA for vitamin D is woefully low, some doctors warn against taking higher dosages. They harbor an irrational fear about toxicity or overdose at this level. I know because years ago I was brainwashed into believing some of these baseless concerns as well. That's his words, all right? And I also have a book that's titled, if you got to make sure you got two main vitamins in your systems are magnesium and vitamin D. There's a whole book written on just those two. So let's go on and see what he still says here. As you see, 10,000 IUs of vitamin D. Now, IUs, those are international units, right? 10,000 IUs of vitamin D is just 250 micrograms, not milligrams, micrograms. That means 0.25 milligrams. Imagine how little that is. That's minuscule compared to the doses of other nutrients. For example, the RDA of vitamin C, which is also way low, is almost 200 times higher than that amount. So, people say, am I taking too much vitamin D? Hello, you just, 10,000 IUs is really nothing. It's 0.250 micrograms. 250 micrograms. It's so tiny amount. And if you look at our vitamin D, which is vitamin D3 with K2, which is vitally important, K2 to deliver the calcium to go where it needs to go, not into your arteries, okay? That's taking 5 of those Ds a day for just to get your 10,000 IUs. Each vitamin D tablet that we have is 2,000 IUs. So those numbers, I'm an engineer. I love numbers, so I look at all this. I said, how they're really baffling people with these numbers of 10,000 IUs. Oh, wow, that's so high. It's nothing compared to what it should be. So I just want to read that to you from Dr. McCosey's letter. I hope it makes some sense to you, especially when you're north of, like I said, Atlanta or Los Angeles. You got to stay healthy. And that's what HealthPointe is all about, good all-around health. And vitamin D is vital in your system. That's why when you're in the sunshine, you feel so much better because you get that vitamin D through your skin. So anyhow, I hope that makes some sense to some of you. And don't be afraid to supplement with at least 10,000 IUs a day. And I would say if I were up north, I'd be taking a lot more than that, all right? Because I know how I feel when I take those vitamin Ds. It's they stay good within the sun, and we get sun every day. Carol and I get out there and by the pool and get a good half hour of sunshine. But still, I take the 10,000 IUs a day. So as I can share, I love it. Stay healthy, guys. That's what HealthPointe is all around. HealthPointe is all about. It's all around good health. Good seeing you all, and good to hear from you. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Hank. Nobody does it better than Hank in terms of getting into the numbers and the resources, particularly as it relates to some of the micronutrients. Yeah, vitamin D, such an important one. And yeah, for those of us that are up here in the snowy backgrounds like Laurel, a number of us on this call have that going on. It's, as you say, Hank, even more important. In fact, this is an area where through a different work, but again, coming back to oncology, we definitely focus on adequate vitamin D. And one of the interesting statistics is in the US population, and vitamin D is something that is easily pulled on a blood lab. Okay. In fact, most standard panels will have vitamin D on there. If not, it's an easy thing to be added. And just statistically, in the United States, 70% are either deficient or insufficient. Okay, we already unpacked in a previous episode about, the language of deficiency versus insufficiency. But in the United States, it's 40% that are flat out deficient, but 70% are deficient or insufficient. And so this is a big deal. And thanks again, Hank, for unpacking that and emphasizing that, and also breaking through that. Again, that sometimes people get confused on, the IUs and the different ways that dosages are marked. So getting some clarity on that is really valuable. So thanks so much. All right. Gosh, who do we have next? Who wants to go next? We've got David, if you're available.
Here I come.
I just like calling on you so I can do the Bueller thing for those that understand the reference to the movie.
And so I had two shopping experiences that relate to the concept of cost versus value. Something we talk about, but we don't talk about that often. And it's actually something that one needs to learn to be pretty articulate on when you're marketing Nutrilite. And so my first story is I went to buy a new gas grill. My gas grill is very old, so Chris and I are giving each other a gas grill for Christmas. And instead of going to Lowe's or Home Depot, I go to small business owners. I prefer to give small business owners my money. And so I'm there, and I'm not talking to a salesman. I'm talking to the owner. And the grills are $500-$600 or more. And I said, I can go to Lowe's and get one just for a couple $100. And his response I thought was priceless, because he looked at me and he said, for every $100 you spend on a grill, that's about how many years it'll last. He said, so my $600 grill, he said, will last you probably 6 to 10 years, but more important, if you have a problem with it, I have the part. No problem. So anyways, so that was that story, and I really, really liked that. And so 2 days later, I'm doing a FaceTime with a young man who the reason we connected is because he just recently got connected with a homeopathic doctor, and he had shared with me a little bit about his middle school daughter is having some issues in school. And so when I was talking to him about Nutrilite, I brought up that experience. I said, I want to approach you on cost versus value. I said, and so when I explained the grill to a man, especially, he goes, oh yeah, that makes total sense. And I said, well, you can go to Amazon and get 250, 500 vitamin C for $10. And my vitamin C is going to be acerola cherries, and a couple hundred is like $40 to $50. And I said, why do you want to spend the extra money? And I said, the extra money you spend is because, number one, I believe our body was created by God to absorb food and not chemicals. That the vitamin C that you buy large quantities can be all chemicals. I then shared with them that GNC has been purchased by China to help them promote their poor quality products. And so I just found that example of the grill worked really well for trying to explain the concept of cost versus value. And so he ended up buying one Omega for his daughter and one Rhodiola for himself, and said he would give it a test ride for a month. But that's it.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. It's so fun how just a simple experience that most of us can relate to, especially on the grill front, because we've all been confronted, I think, at one time or another by that decision, by looking at that, cheap little knockoff. And then, you got to kind of gulp a little bit when you look at the price of getting something of any quality. And, that is a real clear, it really clarifies that cost versus value. And, Yeah, what's interesting, on the Nutrilite brand, I think we referenced just recently that again we should do an entire episode on why that's almost in its standalone category. I remember us commenting about that recently, where unfortunately it's kind of globbed into this category of nutritional supplements or something. But really, I mean, is it really fair to, I guess since we're throwing out brands, I'll continue with the brand, throwing brands under the bus. You mentioned GNC and others, but I mean, is it really fair to say, Nutrilite Double X is in the same category as Flintstones One a Day? Is that really fair to say that those are both nutritional supplements? I guess, we're in an environment where they are, and yet one, I'll just say is a Flintstone vitamin, or pick your brand, and the other is, as we say, the only global supplement that grows, harvests, and processes its own supplements on its own certified organic farms and has over 6,000 acres of certified farms. I mean, is it really fair to put that in a category like Flintstones or something you just kind of buy off of Amazon? And this was a quick something I heard that's similar to what you're saying, Dave, on that cost versus value. I can't remember. I think we were at a conference when we heard this. They said, are you taking supplements just to be able to tell yourself you're taking supplements, or are you taking supplements for the benefit to your biology? Because those are two totally different spectrums to make your decision through. If you want to just take a supplement to be able to check a box and, appease yourself emotionally, psychologically, to say that I did that. And I don't think most people are. I think most people are making the best decision. They just don't know. They don't know the difference. They don't know that one brand does, what do they do? 500,000 quality checks in a year. Never is at a recall. 90 years of pedigree, reams of PhDs and scientists on that. They just don't know. And yet it's the largest brand in the world, doing $4 to $5 billion a year. So I think most people are just making the best decision with what they know, and with a little bit of clarity and insight and information. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer to go with the best. So great topic on that, value versus cost. So,
Eric, I was talking with somebody last night. We went to someone's house for a holiday dinner, and she was commenting, obviously, because she hadn't seen me in a while, on my health, and asked about, well, she said, I used to do health, Weight Watchers or something. Anyway, she's very healthy. She watches everything. But she said, what kind of program is it? And I thought, okay, I don't want to get into it here. But the thing I said that I think I'm going to use more often, I said, well, it's really a program. It's not really about losing weight. It's about getting your body healthy at a cellular level, because the supplements are key. Because I knew she's not gonna look at losing weight or anything else, but you can't get healthy at a cellular level on your own. I don't think. Anyway, and so I thought I planted that seed. She goes, "Oh," she kind of looked at me. I said, "Yeah, the supplements we use are like the number one," and then that's how I left it. But I do think that that's a major for some people it's a major hiccup. Oh wait, why can't I just take my own vitamins? I take vitamins, kind of thing. And so I just started with the cellular level, health wise, and I think that's a good line. Maybe I might use more often.
I love that line. Yeah, that's a great way again to kind of differentiate and differentiate, appropriately, because that's what it is. I was thinking as you were saying that, Laurel, either they can just take it at face value when you say that and take action on it, or you could bore them to tears by giving them the past couple of episodes where I dug into cellular phase angle and all of that. I think give them 20 minutes of that and they'll say, I surrender. Just don't give me any more of this geeky nerdy science stuff about my cells. But in all seriousness, I mean, we are it's all about the health of our cells. Healthy cells make healthy tissues. Healthy tissues make healthy organs. Healthy organs make a healthy biological system. You start shortchanging, either knowingly or unknowingly, at the cellular level, and that's where that cascade of tissue organ biology starts to get cracks and fissures in it. So it's very much about the cellular level. But don't scare them off by having them tune into the phase angle episode. But well, Carol, we kind of heard a bit on the pay it forward, but can you queue up anything more, or maybe send us off into the next step here as we're wrapping up our episode this morning?
I'll just do this. Excuse me. I'll do this really quick because the more I've been thinking about this as we're moving into the holidays, I think the more important it is to be thinking past the holidays and into January and where people are at. And if you just look at the volumes of emails that you get on the quick fix, Band-Aid, workout, this, that, the other thing that people are being inundated with, you can't be a Johnny come lately. It's important for you to start planting those seeds now. So I put and of course you could, put your own verbiage in it. The bottom line is I put a text together and I call it texting mainlining. I want to go for the main line. Emails, you're kind of flashing it out there and half the people don't even look at it. But when you get a text with the person's name on it, I call that mainlining the juggler. And you want to get to that information right to the source. And so this was something that I put together for folks that I know. Some of them know I'm a coach, some of them don't know I'm a coach. I started with some of our clients and even a few of our pseudo IBOs, that are, whatever. But anyway, it says, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. So hi, Eric. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. As we approach the end of 2025, many of your friends may be looking at either losing weight, excuse me, losing weight, attaining a healthier lifestyle, or perhaps even getting better lab numbers or out of diabetic status. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of covering a broad thing rather than just weight loss. Our program, HealthPointe, has taken on a life of its own and becoming a booming success. If you or anyone you know may want more information, please feel free to reach out and I can send you the latest information. We also have a code, which is the code that we've had all week long, that you still can send out and they can play up until 7:00 tonight of a special program called Connect to Health that is active until Saturday late afternoon. Or you can use any tool you want because we've got plenty of tools that you can send them. Feel free to touch base with any questions. We have full support, excuse me, and excellent, sorry about this, excellent support. And let's make 2026 a great year of great health. But what I also thought, I'm going to rework this a little bit. This is just kind of giving you idea. You put whatever verbiage you want to based on whoever you're sending it to. But I said at the end, let me know who you might have in mind. I look forward to hearing back. I always put that on a text because that's when I get replies back. They can say, I can't think of anybody. I might be interested, whatever. You don't know, but if you're looking for a response back, that really keeps that thread going so that you can continue on. But I think that we need to be starting to get that out right now. At the mid-December, because they're going to be thinking as they're eating the holiday stuff that they shouldn't be eating, or they're starting to feel slunky or whatever. They're going to be starting to think about that, or maybe they have a spouse that is pre-diabetic, or the numbers didn't look very good on their last report, or whatever their situation is. It's not just about Christmas, it's about whatever their situation is. So if we start planting these seeds now and then keep track of who you've sent these texts out to, then if you don't hear back from them, then you can merely say in a couple of weeks, hey, I know you're very, very busy. I didn't hear back on the recent text. Hope everything is okay. And then you can just ask them the question again. Excuse me, I have a frog that just all of a sudden came up. So anyway, that's just a thought on starting to pay it forward. We need to be thinking in advance here, and it's really not in advance because January is coming upon us pretty fast. So I would say get those texts out to your pseudo IBOs, if you have preferred customers, if you have customers, if you have family members. The other thing that really rang true, and listening to Laurel, and I thought your response was very good, Laurel, on the cellular level. And I've heard David Dassau mention that a lot too, and I really like that term. And Eric, I think it probably originated from you. But the other thing that Australians are really great at, especially if you're relatively new in the program, is, hey, I'm working with a coach and I'm loving it and I'm having great success. You know what? I can introduce you to my coach if you'd like. And you're not getting into the program. You're just getting into, I have a coach. You're not trying to explain and, blah, blah, blah all over them.
No, that couldn't wrap up this in a better fashion, Carol, because I mean, we're talking about, at the forefront of this episode, the stress of the holidays, and now we're unpacking, give the gift. If you're into gift giving around the holidays, give the gift of an offer to somebody that maybe desperately wants to improve their health, and all they need is just a thin thread of opportunity, just a little bit of a blurb, an opportunity. You mentioned about the Australians. Isn't it fun with the Australians how I take a cue from them. I don't know how you guys are about how they're just so bold, right? It seems like every one of them is a choleric personality. And the way that informs me is I'm not a very like evangelical kind of a guy. I'm kind of more of a, subdued on that nature, but I tell you what I've learned to become, and for those that can relate to this, let's all band together. When it comes to helping somebody with their health, good grief. I mean, let's look at the numbers worldwide, but let's look at the numbers just here in America. And if there's anything that I become a bit evangelical, a little bit out there, I don't want to become obnoxious. Certainly don't want to turn anybody off, but I'm also not going to just keep my mouth shut and keep my light under a basket and not say anything, and let somebody that maybe is desperately suffering with diabetes, or any of the other chronic illnesses, get bold. Get those, Carol. I'm sure, or I hope that you'll have that text that you'll probably send out, or maybe already have, so that all of us can kind of use that as a template. I think that's a wonderful opener and gives that context. And there's things to be sheepish and shy about in life. I for sure can relate to that just in terms of my personality. But when it comes to giving somebody an opportunity to take hold, to turn the direction in the direction of a better health, it's time to be bold. We've got a phenomenal program. This has been around here for decades. This is not something new, the HealthPointe program. So I think a text like that is a really, really great initial. Yes, Carol.
Oh, one other quick last thing that I learned from the Australians is they work really heavy on HealthPointe. I'm sorry, on Facebook. So I'm going to encourage anybody that is on the program that has lost some weight, and you can see it on a before and after picture. Get those pictures, get the tightest black outfit and use the, most obvious angles, and get a before and after picture on your Facebook and say, hey, I'm not bragging, I'm just healthy. I just feel great. You want to know how I'm doing it? Throw me a message or whatever, contact me. They do that, and if you listen to those 89 audios on the app, and especially the panels that say, how did you get introduced? I saw her on Facebook, or she took her jacket off. But most of them I saw on Facebook or Instagram. So if you are computer savvy and Instagram, Facebook, whatever mode you want to do, get your body out there. And you don't have to be braggy. Say, I chose to be healthy, and wow, all this stuff came along with it. I feel great. You know what? Brag a little. Good grief. You lost, Laurel, you lost 60 plus pounds. I think you lost closer to 70 pounds, to be honest with you. But anyway, and I think you lost more like 40 inches, if I'm not mistaken. But I know that just, you know what? Be bold. Like you say, Eric, be bold. This is people's health.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we've done it again. We're wrapping up another episode of Voices of HealthPointe. I'll get this up into YouTube ASAP. Certainly, I'll try to get
Eric,
it done.
Eric,
Yes.
before you cut off what Carol was just talking about Facebook, can we use the word HealthPointe or is that a taboo kind of thing on Facebook?
Don't go into HealthPointe. Just say, hey, I made a choice a few months ago to get healthy, and wow, was I surprised at all the benefits. And show a before and after picture.
Yeah.
Make them want to come more, because then what they'll do is they'll go Google HealthPointe and blah blah blah, and you don't want that. No HealthPointe words.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
great.
totally impressed with Carol's palm tree hairstyle there. It's really looking good.
I'm having a bad hair day.
Just as a quick note, I wanted to let everybody know that obviously during the holiday season, people have a tendency to waver, and one of the things I am looking at is realizing that the journal is a journey, that it's not a picture. If you pause a movie or something on the TV, it gets very blurry and it doesn't seem to make sense as one frame. But if you look at it in its context and a longer perspective, then you'll know that you're on the right path.
The
Oh my
journal
gosh.
is a journey.
Look at
Go for that,
Tom.
Eric.
I'm telling you, I'm seeing a headliner here for sure. Tom, thank you again. I mean, I hope you come back more and more. This has been great. You're throwing some gems here, and you're walking the talk. I mean, you are 21 pounds down. Way to go, Tom, and great to hear from you and Debbie. Great to hear from everyone. Fun episode as always. I don't know how we always manage to just have such a hoot here, but it's really great to hang with you guys on Saturday mornings. I think we all just enjoy each other's company. I'll get this up there, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody same time, same place next week. Until then, bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Adios.